Welcome to this lecture on some advanced techniques for working with images in iBooks Author. Now, we've already covered some basic information on working with images, and now we're going to cover two really powerful techniques that will help you make the most out of your image assets in your iBooks projects. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is working with the alpha channel masking in iBooks Author. Now, an alpha channel allows you to define areas of transparency in a graphic. So let's use an example. I'm going to remove this picture of the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to go to my exercise files, and in the images folder you'll see that I have an image of a starfish. So let's assume that I want to bring this image of the starfish onto my document. You'll notice that it does what you would expect it to do. It brings in a rectangular image and the text goes around the rectangle. But in my case, what I want to do is I actually want to remove the white background so that the image can have that transparent area that the text can fill up instead, right? So the text will wrap in a different way according to the shape of the starfish. One way I could do this is in Photoshop. I could open up this image in Photoshop. I could remove the background and then save it as a PNG file and then drop it into iBooks Author. If it already has an alpha channel, then that's respected in iBooks Author. But in my case, I don't have, let's say I don't have Photoshop. What I'm going to do is use the Instant Alpha feature in iBooks Author. I'll go to the Format menu, go down to Image, and you can see there's an option here called Instant Alpha. I'm going to now select the color that I want to remove. So I'll click, and then if I just drag a little bit, it starts to highlight more of the image that it's going to remove in terms of a background. So I'm just going to let go of the mouse, and you'll see that that white background is now transparent. If I hit the Enter key, it now becomes an image where the text can go right up to the edge of the image. So you can kind of see how powerful this can be if you want to add some real visual interest to your page layouts. Now, there aren't too many starfish in New York City, I don't think, so what we'll do instead is put in a picture of the Statue of Liberty again. So I'll bring in a different image this time. So now we've got this image. Now you can see that the background here is obviously not white, it's blue, and it's not uniform like it was in the previous picture, but this should still be good enough for us to work with in iBooks Author. If you find that the image is too complex or the background is too complex, then you might have to use something like Photoshop. But in our case, I think we're good to go with iBooks Author. So we'll go to Format, Image, we'll select Instant Alpha, and again, I'll start sort of somewhere in the middle here, click, drag, and you can see that it's starting to select most of the top half of the sky. So just let that go. Now I'll come down here, I'll do the same thing. I'll just click and drag. And you can see that I can do this multiple times until I have the image that I want to have isolated. Okay, press return. Oh, there's a little bit more left down there, so go back to Format, go to Image, Instant Alpha, and just down at the bottom here. Didn't see that. Okay, so now that we've removed the blue background, you can see that we're left with the shape of the Statue of Liberty, and we can move that around. And you can see that it kind of gives a really neat effect to the overall page rather than just inserting an image that is a rectangle. So that's the first technique. I would suggest that you find some images on the web that have a plain background and try to use those in iBooks Author, or in fact if you have your own content where you think you can knock out the background and use it in your books, I would highly suggest you try that out. Now, the second technique I want to talk about is how you can take a single image and have it span multiple pages. And this can be a really interesting visual effect to tie two pages together. Now, by default, iBooks Author doesn't actually allow you to do this. So you can see that we have our page layouts, and maybe I'll switch to the culture and tourism section here. So I'll go down to page 24 of my book. And what I want to do is I have this really nice picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. I have that saved in the images folder in the exercise files. So if I just hit the space bar, I'll see the quick look image. So it looks great. I want to bring that in and have it span 2 pages. So if I just click on that image in the Finder and then just drag it into my page, I end up with this. And I'll go ahead and expand this out a little bit more. And I'm going to take a quick look at the graphics inspector. This isn't necessary, obviously, but I don't like the stroke around the image, so I'll just replace that with no stroke. And the other thing that I'm going to do is just make sure this is a floating object rather than something that's anchored. Now, the trick here is you can be a bit more scientific about this, but I like to just kind of do this freehand. And what we're going to do is just move this image, sort of the midpoint of it, just off the page. So let's try that one more time. Just move this over. And make sure that I'm leaving enough space at the bottom. So there we go. That looks all right. And then what I'm going to do is just do a Command C to copy. So again, edit, copy. Then I'm going to put my cursor on the next page and then just do a Command V to paste. Well, let's try that again. So I'm going to do a copy and then I'm going to do a paste. And in this case, what I'm going to do is move this to the next page and then just line up the 2 images. And there you go. So that looks pretty good. I mean, I can try moving things around a little bit and just make sure that it looks as good as it can. And that's it. So now we have this picture of the Brooklyn Bridge that's spanning multiple pages. Obviously, didn't do a great job here in terms of the width of the image on this side, but let's take a quick look on the preview to see what it looks like. So I'll hit the preview button. I'm just going to preview this on my Mac. It's going to publish this book, and then it's going to open up iBooks on this page. Okay, so here we go. So now you can see that we've got this image that's sort of spanning multiple pages. And it can add, like I said, it can add a really nice, interesting visual element to your book. By the way, one thing that we didn't cover in terms of previewing is you do have the option of previewing a portion of this book. The way you can do that is if you go to the File menu, you can choose to preview current section only. And that can be a little bit faster if you're working on a large project that has lots and lots of chapters and images. So iBooks author doesn't have to publish the whole thing every time. It just publishes that one section and displays it for you. Okay. So that is 2 advanced techniques that we covered with images. The first one was around alpha channel masking, and the second one around having an image span multiple pages. So this concludes our lecture on advanced image techniques.